Welcome to the overview tutorial for the Impact Estimator for buildings. This is a very quick run-through of the use and features of the program for first-time users. Techniques on modeling buildings and reviewing results will be covered in greater detail in subsequent tutorials. Once you've downloaded, unzipped, installed, and opened the Impact Estimator for the first time, you'll see a blank field on the right here and a blank project tree on the left. I happen to have already loaded two projects in my project tree, just for demonstration purposes for this tutorial. We have here two projects at the P level, and sample building 1 and sample building 2. And in the information on the right in the brackets here are what we call summary measures in tree. And we're showing a percentage of global warming potential. I'm going to open up this top project and I'm going to show you here that of the different assembly groups that are in this model, each has a percentage of global warming potential that it is contributing to the 100% of the total project. And under each assembly group, you have a number of different assemblies, and each of them will contribute their own percentage of GWP to the columns and beams total, which of course contributes to the total of the total building. Now, you can change what is displayed in these summary measures in trees, and the easiest way to do that is to right-click on Impact Estimator at the top of the tree, and you see here that I have select percent versus values on tree. I'm showing a percentage as opposed to absolute values. I can change the summary measure that I want to choose. I have global warming potential selected now, but I can switch to any of these other summary measures here, and I can turn the summary measures off in the tree if I don't want them displayed. But they are a very handy way of keeping track of a running total, really, of a certain summary measure as you're adding to your model. Just to demonstrate here, I can change this to values, and it'll take a few seconds to recalculate, and then you see here, instead of showing a percentage, it's showing the total. So for building number 1, I have 4.87 kilotons of GWP, and these different assembly groups are contributing that much GWP to the total. And the same thing with the individual assemblies below. With every project, we have what we call project level data. And this is how you start a project. I'm going to show you the existing project level data on this this loaded project. I'm going to click here and modify, and it shows you the modify project box. And it's here that we choose our project name, we choose the location, the building type, the building life expectancy, the building height, gross floor area, and whichever units we want to use in this project. And it's also where we can put in a few notes to ourselves and input the operating energy consumption. And those inputs will apply to the whole project. Each project is built up of a number of assemblies, and these are the assembly groups: columns and beams, floors, roofs, foundations, walls, and extra base materials. And then in each group, you add individual assemblies to model your building. I'm just going to open one quickly here to show you. This is a very typical assembly dialog box. You're going to be asked for a name and a number of parameters describing the geometry and the materials of this particular assembly. Each assembly box and each dialog box in the program has a contextual help button at the bottom. If you click on that, help file will open up pertaining to that particular box. And in this case, we have the modify mixed columns and beams assembly box. There's a description of all the input fields and perhaps some notes on what you should consider when populating those fields, etc., etc. And that occurs in every form in the program. Another way to populate a project with your building data is to add a bill of materials that is exported from a CAD program. And if we go down here and right-click on the project, that's what it's called here, the bill of materials file import. Now, I'm not going to go through this in this example, but the idea is to export to Excel a bill of materials from your CAD program, map the the names of the materials to the names of the materials that are in Impact Estimator, and then quickly import them into the program, so it saves a lot of manual input for different assemblies. It's a quick and easy way to do things. There are some steps to follow. There's help file, just like all other things down here. Oops, I've clicked that twice. With a full set of instructions, and which again we'll go through in a separate video, but that is the second way of modeling your building in the Impact Estimator. Now let's assume that you've modeled your building in the Impact Estimator, you've completed all the assemblies, and now you want to look at results. So we're going to click up here on Reports. The Reports form is going to open. We select a project up here. We're going to stick with building number 1. We can look at reports in graphical or tabular format. I'm going to click Table. You can look at the absolute values of the life cycle inventory results, or you can look at the life cycle impact assessment results, which are the summary measures here. I'm going to click Summary Measures. It's going to choose all of the summary measures for here, and I'm going to look at them sorted by life cycle stages as opposed to assembly groups. I click on here and on Show Reports. It'll take a few seconds, and then a report will open up. I'm going to maximize it here just to look at it quickly. And here we have our summary measures. Here on the left, these are the 7 summary measures that we present. It's divided by life cycle stage, manufacturing stage. Each stage is divided into material and transportation effects in a total column. And we have the manufacturing, construction, maintenance, end of life, and operating energy stages, as well as the total effects on the left of that table. I'm going to close this here, and I'm going to look at the same results in a graphical format. Now I'm going to choose just one for demonstration. I'm going to choose global warming potential. Again, we're looking at summary measures divided by life cycle stages, and I'm going to click Show Reports again. Another few seconds, and the report will open up in a separate box. Maximize here, and here we have our life cycle stages. Here's the totals of the global warming potential for those stages divided by material effects and transportation effects. With all tables and graphs, you can export them to either Excel, PDF, or Word by clicking this little diskette icon at the top of the chart or at the top of the form. The Excel tables when you export to Excel, tables will be exported as tables, but graphs only get exported as pictures. As well as PDF and Word, they get exported as pictures to those formats. Close that now. Another interesting graph to look at is the operating versus embodied effects. If I click on here and I click Show Reports again, another few seconds, and a simple pie chart will come up showing the difference in green here of the operating effects, the global warming potential, kilograms of CO2 equivalent of the operating effects versus those of the embodied structure effects. Another form to look at is the bill of materials. If you click the button down here, and the bill of materials shows up here, and this is a list of all the materials that you've modeled in your project for your building. You can look at it in metric or imperial units, either way. You can also export this report to Excel, PDF, or Word if you want. Another useful feature of the tool is to compare 2 projects together graphically. And here I'm going to choose my 2 buildings. I've got sample building 1 and 2. I'll choose them both. Again, I'm going to choose global warming potential as an example. And again, by life cycle stage and absolute value, I'm going to click Show Reports. And here we have a graph that shows the different life cycle stages of building 1 on the same scale as the different life cycle stages of building 2. And it gives you a quick visual representation of how the buildings compare to each other. For instance, in manufacturing here, building 1 is about 2.5 times as much CO2 as building number 2 in the manufacturing stage. I'm going to close this again. Another way to do this is by project baseline. And per unit area, I'm just going to show project baseline here, and I'm going to select sample building number 1 as a baseline and click show reports again. Graph will pop up, and this shows here that we've chosen sample building number 1 as a baseline, so it's showing its values at 100%, and sample building number 2 compared to that. So it's showing that these stages of CO2 for each stage, sample building 2 is about half of that of building number 1. And that's just a quick, easy visual comparison to get an idea of the relative effects of each building. This concludes this quick overview. Detailed tutorials for assembly groups supporting bills of materials and viewing results are available.